Well, I'll take us another direction here. I'm going to stay in the ACC. I'm going to stay positive for now. I got a negative one here in a little bit, but I want to talk about the Duke Blue Devils, Garrett. And this was something that I was really ready to talk about if they could hold on and beat SMU or kick a short field goal, but a huge effort on a field goal. It's a block from SMU on Saturday night, steals the win for SMU. They win it in overtime. Duke's 2-point conversion attempt is no good. So they are not able to knock off and upset SMU, but they're still 6-2 in year one under Manny Diaz. And I think doing quite a bit better than most people projected at this point. We looked at who they lost in the portal. We looked at anytime, you lose a guy like Mike Elko, you expect a big step back. Manny Diaz was a solid hire, I thought, for Duke to try to replace Mike Elko. It was in the same vein of a defensive-minded head coach, but they've certainly done a lot better than I expected this year. But I think they might be this year's Syracuse that we talked about in the last few years, where we're just really asking, yeah, they've got 6 wins. Yeah, they're already bowl eligible, and it's not even November. Are they actually any good? And I think that's a legitimately fair question. Not to take anything away from them. Winning, you got to win the games on your schedule. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if it's by 1 point or by 50 points for a team like Duke. But they sprint out to that 5-0 start. They've lost 2 of 3 since, losing to Georgia Tech and SMU. They gave SMU all they could handle. They got 6 takeaways in that game. But it's really been the way that they've won. It's been really close. They don't really blow anyone away. They have 4 wins by 1 score or less. And now, thanks to SMU in large part, they're plus 12 in the turnover margin. So they're doing a good job of getting more takeaways than they give away. But, Malik Murphy, he was supposed to kind of be the hotness at quarterback. They really haven't asked him to do a lot. They're not throwing the ball downfield. It's like 6 yards per attempt or something along those lines. So it's a lot of short dink and dunk stuff. The close is fascinating to me. They close at Miami this week, a game that if Miami's not taking it seriously, I think it could legitimately be a close game. I think Duke could ugly this one up and be a problem for Miami. Then they're at NC State, an underwhelming team this year. Virginia Tech at home and at Wake. So sitting at 6 wins, if they can split these last 4 and they're sitting there at 8-4, that's a magnificent year one for Manny Diaz. And I don't really care what the 8 wins look like. If they got 8 wins with the roster that he inherited and the roster that he had to cobble together through the depths of the portal, hats off to him, man. And he's maybe in consideration for ACC Coach of the Year in my mind.
Definitely in consideration, because when Mike Elko left Duke to go to Texas A&M, obviously that's worked out fantastic for him, fantastic for the Aggies. We are happy with the hire as A&M fans. But a lot of people just kind of wrote Duke off, right? They're like, hey, this is, oh, well, good try. You had your coach. He was good for you. It'll be another little walk through the wilderness till you find your next coach. And I remember, even for myself, I'll go hands up on this one. When they hired Manny Diaz, I kind of giggled to myself. I was like, oh, cool, Manny Diaz. That'll be fun. And look, I'm guilty of that. He's been pretty good. He's done a pretty good job so far, and I didn't expect him to. He's cobbled together a roster. Clearly had the evaluation on Malik Murphy. He's not, I don't think, a world-beating quarterback. He's not even completing 60% of his passes, but getting it done, moving him down the field, leaning a little bit on that run game. One guy I really want to shout out, Jordan Moore, sticking behind, though he could have probably left and gotten another opportunity. Stayed behind. He's got 34 catches on the year for almost 500 yards. He's averaging 14.1 yards per catch. So that's pretty dang good from a guy who, maybe for all intents and purposes could have and should have left.
After he and Star Thomas have kind of been their entire offensive plan at this point.
And good on him for sticking behind. He could have left. Like, he had opportunities. I would have thought he would have had opportunities, but instead stayed behind, and he's kind of been the star of the team. And while you don't necessarily look at their schedule and find a quality, win, you thought maybe Florida State could have been, but it's not. You're looking at that. I'm thinking maybe UConn's the best win on their schedule. Maybe North Carolina after the way they just played, but I don't know, man. Like, this is really one of those questions of, are they actually good, or is the ACC just kind of bad? I don't really care. Like, if I'm a Duke fan, I don't care. We've won 6 games. We have officially, solidified a bowl game spot. They're going to get to play in a bowl game in year one under Manny Diaz. They're going to get to go out there and pitch a vision to recruits. And their program is up and off the mat in year one after Mike Elko left.
That vision thing that you said is the biggest thing to me, because you have to have a proof of concept. This program was dead in the water as recently as this summer in the minds of pretty much everybody outside of that building, right? And now I would say they're probably going to be favored at least in the Wake Forest game, maybe road favorites at NC State. I don't know about at home against Virginia Tech, and they certainly are decided underdogs this weekend. But I mean, 8-4 is not all 8-4s are created equal. I obviously know that, but for a conference where we in the preseason cited so many teams that had favorable schedules, if they could just take care of business, I'm not going to fault Duke for taking care of business against a favorable schedule.
And Duke wasn't one of those teams we really talked about. Like, we talked about a lot of teams being able
to. We
get
actually
done.
joked because our fans our listeners voted them way higher than we would have had them. They voted them at like 11th, I think, in the ACC. And we were like, they're probably going to be closer to 15th or 16th.
Right. And like, good for our fans. That just shows that they know stuff.
They know ball.
But what I will say is this, the fun storyline, at least going into this Miami game, is their coach is Manny Diaz.
Yeah.
And there is probably a whole lot of, we're going to go in there. We got house money. No one thinks we can win, but we're going to play some dang good defense. Let's throw some trick plays out there. You know, let's take the safety off of Malik Murphy and let the cannon unleash, right? If you throw 5 picks, doesn't matter. Let's just sling the ball downfield, get it done. Because if you know anybody wants to get this upset, it's going to be Manny Diaz and those Duke Blue Devils. So
absolutely,
I think they go for it and get. I don't think they're going to win the game, but I think they're going to give Miami just about all they can give. They're going to force Miami to make another couple calls to the conference office after what Manny Diaz is going to give them.
Gracious him! How about